6 Music.
Liz Kershaw's Legend in Your Own Lunchtime.
And today, it's that bloke from the hearing aid advert on the telly. Hey.
Turn that telly down, ganger!
And my kids say, Grandad!
That's the best sound I've ever heard.
I saw that advert for a leading high street brand of hearing aid consultation, and I thought, here, I know that bloke, and he's in the studio now, and it's Mr. Lee Thompson.
How do you do, my dear?
Oh, he's a lad. He's one of the lads, because, of course, he's a member, the saxophonist of Madness, as well as being a solo recording artist as well.
And a deaf artist. And a P artist. No, I won't go into that.
So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked your old bandmate when he came on the show most recently.
Suggs Atolla?
Yeah. He'd had I think he'd been spending a bit of time refreshing himself before he came on the programme. It was hilarious. Now, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked him.
Go on.
Do you like doing stuff best as part of Madness or solo projects or your own band projects or whatever?
I enjoy all of it, fortunately.
Okay.
You know, Madness has been going for 40 years and, that keeps the wolves away.
Yeah.
And, it's red carpet treatment all the way, of course.
Well, do you want to hear what Suggs had to say about you?
Go on, then.
Right, here we go. I asked him the same thing. Right, so, do you prefer being one of the lads in the band or all that solo stuff?
Being a lad in the band, yeah.
I thought that might be the answer.
Yeah.
So why have you ever not been lads all together?
Well, Liz, I did a one-man show on that Absolute score, just to try and find out if I could do something outside the band, which went very well. I did about 100 shows, small theatres and all that. I ended the show with this anecdote about playing in Paris at the biggest festival in France. I forget what it's called. Anyway, Oasis were playing there, and they split up that night. And I remember seeing Noel Gallagher go off on his own, and I met him at St Pancras the morning afterwards, and he just said, there was just no one around me. When he'd had a row with Liam, I just thought, I would rather be surrounded by my noisy, frustrating, violent gang of fools than be there on my own, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't just that you had to explore your own creativity or anything?
A little bit of that, but, your original question was, would I rather be on my own or with them, and I'd rather be with them. I would say I would, yeah.
Because you, as one of your fans, it looked, and that's, I think, what we all took from it and soaked up, and that's why it was such fun. It's because you were having such fun. And it was always very tongue-in-cheek, when you were on The Young Ones, which my best friend's mother said we shouldn't watch because it was subversive, so that made it even more compelling. And you were just there in the street singing. You had a blast, haven't you, really?
That was it, Liz, exactly. A lot of us were friends from school, and you bring up The Young Ones. That is a great example of how much fun it was. And I know, people ask me constantly why you think it still resonates. Because I know that we infused all that work with the fun that you saw us having. There was no side to it. We were just having the best fun. And so the records, the videos, the TV shows we did were all infused by that.
He thought it was fun. Do you agree, Lee?
Totally, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, as he said, we knew each other before the music business, before we got into that game. And so we were pals. I mean, Chris and Mike particularly, I'd known since day one, since I was 10, 11 years of age. It was at a time when I was getting into a lot of trouble. I landed up going... It sent us to reform school for a year and a half or whatever. And when I came out, I stopped knocking about with Bob and Dave and Steve, and then got into music via, with Chris and Mike. Mike had learnt the piano at an early age, or I had piano lessons. And we got Chrissy Boy a guitar. I had myself a saxophone, which I traded an oboe in for an old boozing Hawks down at Dingwalls when it was Dingwalls. And...
Because the fingers are the same, aren't they, on a saxophone and a clarinet?
Someone asked me, is there a you're left-handed, is there a left-handed saxophone? No, there's not.
Oh, how would you do it then?
I put my teeth in. And so we were good. We used to knock about up Hampstead drinking holes up there, and that's where I first met Suggs in the sort of mid-70s, and he was into the same sort of things that we were into, fashion-wise, music-wise, and getting up to keep us off the streets. We used to spray paint graffiti, as it's known, old buildings and corrugated iron. You know, we tried to keep it to that, which kept us out of trouble. Yeah, very artistic, I'm sure.
So One Man's Madness, then, is it? It's out on DVD. It's been out in the cinemas.
One Man's Madness.
Yeah.
By Lee Thompson.
Yeah. And now it's now available on DVD in all good DVD shops. Is it a chronological history, documentary? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Baines, God bless him.
The director.
Yes, the director, Jeff Baines, who made the early Madness videos. The earliest video he made was the Baggy Trousers, of course. And they approached me and said, Lee, I'd like you to be in a film.
As yourself.
About yourself. I said, that's a bit pompous, isn't it? Why me? What about the rest? Why don't you pick on the rest of the band? He said, no, I think you've got a bit more of a colourful sort of background history. I said, what do you want me to do? He said, I'd like to film you, or film people who you know, friends, professionals, lawyers, accountants, musicologists and opera singers. And I filmed them in front of a blue screen, and I want you to dress up as them and mouth their words. Which was a bit of a tongue twister, but I thought, well, it's not going to get in the way of any Madness stuff. I mean, you know, thus we thought it'd take about a year, but it's taken 3 years to do. And it was a whole lot of fun. It was literally, he lives in NW5. I just travelled down on the Rattler from High Barnet and take a little packed lunch with us. He put the coffee on and away we went. And it worked. A particular... One of the characters is Dave Robinson, he of Stiff Records.
He is a character.
He is a proper character. He wasn't too pleased on how I portrayed him. He was going to ask to have it pulled, but, you know, he bit the bullet. He could see it was all a mockumentary, and he you know, we had a beer and he was fine about it. It just charts my days before the music, during the music and after the music.
And lots of other contemporary, like stiff recording artists and Ian Jury, for example, people like that.
I mean, that's what attracted us to Stiff Records going way back. You know, we was invited out to lunch by many record companies, and Dave Robinson took us to a pub for a ploughman's lunch, you know, basically half a bitter and a pork pie, and he sold us. He gave us artistic control, which is the main thing that we wanted. You know, come up with our own ideas rather than, you know, record companies telling us how to dress, what to do. Yeah. And that, of course, comes across in the videos. It's quite very fun. It was real.
Well, I'd never heard anything like the album One Step Beyond before 1979. Right. And I said to Suggs when he was on, I only had one. I moved into a new flat in Preston, right, and I didn't have any furniture, and I only had one LP, and we had a housewarming party.
One of those wind-up record players.
Not quite. And so we just had to have that on repeat.
Right.
Flipping it over side to side. It must have been on about 20 times from 9 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning. One step beyond. Da, 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 da. Last boat to Cairo. Da, da. So do you want to chat? Tell you what. Let's happy
album,
days.
That album, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, Suggsy sounds fantastic on it, very youthful, but the saxophone was played out of tune because I never realised to tune the saxophone you had to move the mouthpiece, and I was moving it in the wrong direction. So Clive Langer and Alan Stanley, Clive Langer, the producer, said I played most of that album in unison to try and get it sounding in tune. So yeah, you'll never hear a sound like that.
Well, you pick a song that best shows off your saxophone playing on One Step Beyond. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Go on, pick a song.
Any song off of that album?
Yeah.
Oh, let me think. What track's on there? Oh, good God. Favourite track is, say, how about Rockin' in A Flat?
If you say so.
Yeah.
It's your choice. Here it is.
Go on.
to work nights with my dad. It was the best job I ever had. Until some blokes on their bikes came through. Say, come on down the youth club and see what's new. Well, come on, come on, come on. Let's have some fun tonight. Went to the dance like they said I should. It cost $3 bob, but it was quite good. The band were jumping and a jiving around. The 20-watt amps really made a sound. Well, come on, come on, come on. Let's have some fun tonight. Well, I'll have a cup of tea and then I'll change my name. And I'll put my records on. Till all the geezers in the flats complain. Wish that rock star bloke was gone. Let's have some fun tonight. Sold all my records and I bought a mic. I found some blokes who do what I like. I saw the vicar who ran the hall. He said we can reuse there any time at all. Well, come on, come on, come on. Let's have some fun tonight. We're really rocking now, I've got a bird. She says we are the best band she's ever heard. I've got a bike and I'm having a time, but my mum keeps saying rock and roll's a crime. Well, come on, come on, come on. Let's have some fun tonight. All right. All right. Well, come on, come on, come on. Let's have some fun tonight.
Was it in A flat or is it in a
It was in A
B
flat.
minor or something?
It was a song that Willie Wurlitzer wrote, who was the keyboard player in a band called Bazooka Joe, who was fronted by Daniel Barson, who was Mike Barson's brother, who we used to go and see in the mid-70s. You know, it was a big resurgence of all things American Graffiti, Lords of Flatbush, and there was a very 50s thing going around. And that, along with darts and Shana Na, and we used to go and see at the local pub.
Good fun pub bands. Right, so Lee Thompson.
Yes.
I've got here, It's Okay, I'm a Policeman.
Nice.
Bite the Bullet.
Ooh.
Or Here He Comes, brackets, demo version. What shall we play on Six Music today?
All right. Here He Comes, a demo track which we never got to finally finish because the band sort of took a sabbatical, the band Crunch, and Madness was flying high, so we never got to finish this. I put it on the album. It was a bit of a greatest hits album, this One Man's Madness thing, and I wanted something a little bit extra, so I put an Ian Dury song on there, Policeman, Magic Carpet Ride, Bite the Bullet, and da-da-da, but this track I particularly like here.
Get a load of him, a fine figure of a man. He ain't going, he's planning on staying. He's throwing a party for the umpteenth kind. He's doing very well, considering hell, mixing slime with the old hokey cokey. Applause with a cheesy smile, you back away from the pretentious rattling away. Sliding down a ladder of prospects, you catch a glimpse of a one-eyed snake.